Welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And we are inching our way through this story, this final story in Parshat Toldot, where Jacob and Rebekah basically cheat Esau and fool Isaac. At least that's what it seems like from the blessing that Isaac wants to give to Esau. I think there's just so much in this story, which frankly, I don't think I fully understand or get at this point, because there's just so much ambiguity as far as the characters are concerned, and the whole situation is just fraught with complexity. At any rate, we got as far as Isaac commanding Esau, requesting that Esau go and hunt and bring back game and prepare it and provide some food for Isaac, which is going to give him satisfaction, and that he's going to be able to bless Esau before B'terem Amut, before I die. Even though Isaac winds up living a lot longer than that, he actually is the longest lived of the patriarchs. He lives to 180, and Abraham lives to 175. I think Jacob lives to the 130s or something like that. So anyway, Rivka shomat, but Rivka was listening. B'daber Yitzchak, when Isaac spoke, as Isaac spoke, El Esav beno, to Esau his son. Vayelech Esav hasadeh, and Esau went out to the field. Latzud tzayid lahavi, to hunt for game, to bring. This lahavi seems very, as we say, pleonastic. In other words, he went out to the field to hunt for game. What do we mean to bring? Why is that? So Rashi's going to explain that. What is the Torah saying? Latzud tzayid lahavi. Mahu lahavi. What's this lahavi to bring? Im lo yimtza tzayid. Here's the explanation. If he did not find any game, you can go hunting. It doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to find game. Lahavi min hagezel. He figured he'd just bring from something he stole. So the rabbinic interpretation of the story, obviously, really sets Esau up as being a wicked person, even though the text itself doesn't seem to necessarily imply that, at least within this story itself. And I think the reason, perhaps, I struggle to try to understand, why does the story seem to present Esau in the way that it does? And I think possibly that the reality we discover is there are people who we think are righteous who turn out not to be so righteous underneath it all. And that if we're not very, very careful, we can be fooled. So, onwards. The Rivka Omra, and so Rivka said, El Yaakov bena lemor, to Jacob her son, quote, right, as Rabbi Pamela Varmesh likes to translate, Hine, indeed or behold, Shamati et avicha, I've heard your father, Medaber el Esav achicha, speaking to Esau your brother, lemor, saying. Again, there are words here that are sort of interesting, right? That she says, Esau your brother. And brother, can have some different connotations. First of all, she doesn't say Esau my son, right? She says Esau your brother. But what does brother mean here, right? Sadly, so often we see that there's something that we call sibling rivalry. And there's no question, we saw rivalry between Ishmael and Isaac, and we see very deep rivalry between Esau and Jacob. And is there something the Torah is trying to say to us within that rivalry? He's still your brother, I certainly don't feel like I've pulled that whole thing together, but yeah. All right, let's go on a little bit. No Rashi on this. Havia li, bring me, this is what Isaac said to Esau, bring me tzayid, game, va'aseli matamim, and make dainties for me, or delicious dishes, savory dishes, va'ochela, which I will eat, right, so that I'll be able to eat it, va'avarechacha, and I will bless you, or so that I will bless you, lifnei Hashem, before God, lifnei moti, before I pass on. Well, lifnei Adonai. So, birshuto, that is before God, with God's permission. And I think here, let's just keep going, sheyaskim al yadi, that God will be in agreement through my agency. It's interesting, right? That God would approve of these blessings, or that Isaac needed to say this to Esau. So just lots of stuff here that sort of sticks out and makes one question. V'ata v'ni, and now my son, shma b'koli, listen to my voice, listen to me. La'asher ani mitzaveh otach, that which I am about to command you. Lechna, go, please go, el hatzon, to the flock, the kachli misham, and take for me from there, shnei gedaye izim tovim, two good goats, two kids. Gedaye izim, meaning young goats, kids. The eseh otam, and I will make from them mat'amim la'avicha, for savory treats for your father, ka'asher ha'ev, just as he loves. So Rebecca clearly knew exactly what her husband enjoyed eating, and she knew how to prepare it as well. Okay, let's just keep going. There's some Rashi on this. The kachli, and take for me, misheli, and Rivka was saying, they're mine, they belong to me, these two goats belong to me, the Einam Gizel, they're not something I'm just helping myself from the flock, your father's flock. Shekach katav la Yitzchak betuvata, because Isaac had written for her in their ketuvah, in their marriage agreement, litol shnei gidei izim b'chol yom, that she is allowed to take two kids every day. This is from Bereshit Rabbah. Shnei gidei izim, two goats. Well, Rashi is thinking the question that we're probably thinking too. You mean to tell me that Isaac used to eat two goats a day? Wow, that's amazing. By the way, you see the question mark and the question mark and the exclamation point. I believe the English term for that combination is a parabang. Anyway, Ella, however, the reason for two goats is Pesach Haya. It happened to be Pesach. Echad hikriv lePesach. One of the goats they offered up as the Pesach offering. Echad asa matamim. And the second one he made for his own enjoyment. And Rashi again tells us the origins of this particular comment. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. This is a book that is extant too. It's a book of Midrashim. Literally, it means the chapters of Rabbi Eliezer. It is a major work, actually. Not huge, but it's got good stuff in it. Ka'asher ahev, just as he loves. And why would this be? Remember, he'd been asking Esau to go and get game. Lauren, I'm sorry. You may have been having your hand up for a while. Please, forgive me.
No, just for a couple of seconds. In the previous, Oh, well, I will mention mine doesn't have a parabang, just a question mark.
I put them
But
in myself. Yes, that's okay. Go ahead.
the previous Rashi said that she might take 2 kids every day.
Yes,
So the Passover explanation might work for this one time, but why would anybody need to take, and how would they have enough kids that she could take 2 a day?
well, let me make sure. You know something? Yeah, it says Bechol Yom. I just wanted to double check that he had a large flock. And remember, they were mating and producing. Um, so a kid could be very young. It might not have that much meat, but for one person. But remember, they had a whole camp. She had to feed a bunch of people, not just her immediate family. So I think there might have been some use there. I don't know if she didn't necessarily slaughter them. It doesn't say anything about that. I think we could possibly in short of finding other source material that defines exactly how, she used those kids, etc. It was a gift that he gave her, an ongoing daily gift of 2 goats. She'd have quite a large flock at some point.
I wouldn't call that a gift if it's, well, did you say it was in their marriage contract? It's,
Yes, yes.
one of the, I don't know, one of the ways that women have been mistreated is to have no agency and no property.
Yes.
And that the ketubah was a protection for the woman.
Correct. It was a lien on the man's property. That's what it was. Essentially, it's a lien. And it's saying that should the marriage dissolve, either through death or divorce, that the woman will be taken care of, that she will be protected. Yeah. I don't want to take too much time here. Sometimes the woman would come in with property, and while the property would come under the supervision of the man, he managed her property. Nevertheless, again, it was just his management of it. It didn't actually become his, and she was able to either make the profit that he might have made on the property, or be protected from the loss, depending on the nature of that property. So, I mean, I could go into it more detailed. There's 2 types of property: malog and son barzel. So essentially the deal was that, so I am going into this, all right. So if it was malog, it meant they had to decide when the marriage took place, if these possessions, which he had the right of usage while they were married, and he had to manage these things, were either malog, meaning that if it increased in value and the marriage, ended and he died or whatever, she would benefit from the profit. But on the other hand, if they actually lost money, she would have to suffer the loss. So that's malog. Then son barzel meant that whatever the original value of that property was, regardless of whether there was profit or loss, had to be returned to her. That she was protected from any loss, but on the other hand, she would not gain anything. So this is part of the agreements that they would have prior. They would have a prenuptial agreement. They did have that. Anything? Let's see. Okay. And kasher I didn't get to finish this comment on, as he loves. In other words, how do we know he'd asked Esau to go and get venison essentially for him? Since when that, right? How wouldn't Isaac know that it wasn't venison, right? She was having goat, right? Kitam hagadi, because the taste of the kid, kitam hatzvi, tastes exactly like the taste of venison, of the deer. So onwards. Veheveta la'avicha, and ve'achal, and you should bring it to your father so that he can eat it. Ba'avur asher, so that he will yivarechacha, bless you, lifnei moto, before he dies. look at this. Look at what's going on here, right? Now look at, we're going to see Jacob's response to this. He doesn't say, Mom, how can you ask me to do this? How can I go and cheat my brother or cheat my father, and act in this deceitful way? How can I practice it? That's not going to be his answer. Vayomer Yaakov, and Jacob said, El Rivka Imor, to Rivka his mother, Hein, indeed, Esav Achi Ish I think this is, I don't know, Sa'ir. He says, my brother Esau is a hairy man. He's got a lot of hair on him. Va'anochi, but I, Ish Chalak, I'm very smooth. So in other words, you'll see, I'll do the next sentence, okay? Ulai Yemusheni Aviv. Maybe my father is going to feel me, touch me. V'hayiti be'enav kemitatea. And I will be in his eyes, in his sight, as one who is trifling, who's trying to trick him. In other words, Jacob's concern is discovery. Not that he isn't arguing over the moral correctness of this. He's arguing about the fact that this plan may fail. The Heveti alai klala, and I'm going to bring upon myself a curse, v'lo bracha, and not a blessing. What an interesting response. So again, here is our patriarch, Jacob, and look at what he's doing. And I don't feel the Torah is trying to tell us this is great behavior. And I'll tell you one reason why I don't think this is great behavior, that the Torah is in fact trying to teach us a lesson about maybe being a little too practical and not considering the moral elements of it, is that essentially we know what's going to happen, right? He is going to have to flee away, and he himself is going to be tricked in a severe kind of way. He is going to flee to Laban, and Laban is Mr. Artful Dodger, Mr. Artful Trickster of them all. And that's just one thing. But the rest of Jacob's life is essentially going to be a sad, sad payment for the sins of his youth.
Well, with Lavan, being tricked will include the flocks, the animals,
Correct.
and then later Jacob will be tricked by his sons with animal fur.
That's correct. That is so true. Yeah, with goat, by the way, with the blood of the goat. Yes. By the way, that's why goats are sin offerings. You'll see that in public sacrifices, they bring a goat, and it's as a sin offering. Yep, it represents the sale of Joseph. So again, it's talking about human relations. But in some ways, Jacob is the most human of those three patriarchs.
But it's also interesting, Jacob says here he doesn't want to appear as a deceiver, but
Correct.
yet then he allows himself to become a deceiver.
Yes.
With his mother's,
Well,
urging.
you'll see. Well, that's right. Well, we're going to see that right now, right? Let's just see if there's any. Let's see here. Is there any Rashi on this?
Only on the previous one,
yes,
but
correct. We didn't say it.
that one
I'll say
too.
it. Yeah, Yemusheni, feel me, touch me, come on. And he gives an example. Again, it's not a common word, so Rashi's helping us there. Deuteronomy 28, Memashesh Batzohorayim. This is in one of the curses. In other words, feeling around, sort of wandering around or trying to, like a blind man, touching things so that he can see in the middle of the day. Okay, so
but also the previous Rashi that you didn't do, but it just says.
Oh, you're right. Ish Sa'ar just means Baal Sa'ar, meaning a hairy, has hair.
Yeah.
Hairy. That's all it meant. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, going on. Vatomer lo imo. This also, these words, believe me, are going to ring like a bell. And his mother said to him, Alai kilalatcha b'ni. May your curse be on me, my son. Whew. Wow. Well, like I said, okay, she's not going to see him again. He's going to have to leave. How little we necessarily realize the consequences of our behavior. Ach shema b'koli, only listen to my voice, v'lech kachli, and go and get it for me. Get for me. Onwards. Vayelech, oh, interesting. 3 verbs, one after the other, right? Which I think suggests not thinking too much in between. He went, vayikach, he took, vayaveh, and he brought le'imo, to his mother. Vatas imo matamim, and his mother made savory, delicious food, kasher ahev aviv, just as his father loved. I think it is interesting. It's just striking me that this phrase, kasher ahev aviv, just as his father loved, is mentioned more than once. And I must say that other than the fact that it seems like a repeated phrase, which obviously means it has some significance, what is the significance? That's not so clear. Okay. Unless, because I am aware of this interpretation, that underneath it all, Rebecca was protecting Isaac. That underneath it all, because remember it says that when Esau went and married these 2 Hittite women, they were a source of aggravation, morat ruach, to both of them. But it could be that Isaac was concerned about showing favoritism or whatever to Jacob, and that Rebecca really wasn't cheating him, but making sure that Esau would not be able to take it out on his father. So, just as his father loved, something to think about. And it may be that that's the origin of that particular interpretation. I'm going to stop here for today.
Well, so Jacob shows favoritism to Joseph and later to Benjamin,
Yes.
but he gives Joseph a special coat, and then later Potiphar's wife
Yes.
grabs Joseph's garments and uses them to trick people, against him.
Right.
So it's like generations
Mm-hmm.
are involved in this, trickery involving garments and,
Yep.
outer clothing and appearances and
It's yes. Unfortunately, it's human nature. And I would suspect that the Bible is saying to us, don't fall for it. Don't become a trickster. Try to be a sincere, honest person. That the trickery, you can't trick God. You can't trick God. So
yeah, you think you're getting away with something, but
you're not.
But yeah.
Secrets.
I mean, like, let's say even if you were an atheist, okay,
Yeah.
just for argument's sake, and you think you're getting away with something, you're still, have, unless you're a sociopath, you have a conscience, you suffer from the guilt erodes your whole life, even if you did something when you're a kid sometimes. And, if you haven't dealt with it, it's in you. And, if God's in the picture, you're muted, Rabbi.
I'm sorry, I had to mute for a second. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you.